Welcome to Graphic Policy Television GPTV. I'm Brett. In my hands is a really intriguing new debut from AfterShock, Party and Pray. It's not quite graphic novel, not quite oversized comic. I'll put it more in the graphic novel end of things. It's about 100 pages, which sometimes would be an oversized comic, but I'll throw it in the graphic novel category. So this is a really, really intriguing read, and difficult read. This is not an easy one to pick up. So this is the main cover, and then there is a variant cover for Kinokuniya. I think that's the proper thing for it. Yeah, Kinokuniya Books. It's an exclusive variant. So this is written by Steve Foxe and Steve Orlando. Alex Sanchez is the art. Juancho is the colors. Hassan, Otsmane-Elhaou is the letter. All right. So the story. So the story is, I don't want to, so it's difficult to not spoil this, but this is about a gay older man named Alan who likes younger men that he generally thinks ignores him. And then one night at a gay club, he picks up Scott. But the truth is, there is a wolf on the floor, being Scott. But if you think this is, Scott being predatory towards Alan, you've got a lot. This is a hard one to review, because if I really start diving into it, I'm going to spoil the crap out of it. It's a really interesting read. It is a horror torture comic. It is very difficult to read at times, visually, story-wise, everything. The fact that it deals with gay men, I think, kind of enhances the difficulty of reading it. Not because they're gay, but because of the themes that are underneath. And I think that's kind of what I'm going to focus on as far as the reviews. The story itself it's really interesting. You have it really touches on a lot of important realities of being a gay man, dealing with crimes within the community or perpetrated against the community. There's a lot dealing with cops dismissing their concerns. A lot dealing with cops just outright ignoring clear issues. The predator within. In the back it says, it's not Jeffrey Dahmer, it's not, and it lists off a whole bunch of people. This isn't, supposed to be, gay predatory person, but it's a really, you gotta read it. You gotta read the essay. It explains it way better than I could ever explain it. It's really interesting, and the reasons I find it really fascinating is there is so much touched upon by Foxe and Orlando. If you know LGBT history, gay male history at all, I think the story, the graphic novel gets really more interesting. For my history, my perspective of it, I studied AIDS epidemic as kind of a subset of my poli-sci degree and took a lot of courses on that. So not an expert in LGBT history, but somewhat familiar of 80s, 90s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Experiences, at least coming from that, and a lot of the rejection by society and institutions. Of course, you have things like the Pulse club shooting that I feel like echoes out of this, since this kind of comes out of a club. Just general, if you just read the news, the hatred towards LGBT community that still exists by many. It's really fascinating, but I think if you go deeper into it, there's a very interesting discussion of generational parts of the community. There's a lot of discussion in that, the younger LGBT community that's coming up and be able to express themselves and show off their freedoms and feel safer being themselves. That's on the shoulders of a generation that lost their friends, that lost their lovers and their friends and their relationships due to AIDS, and there's I would actually call it a little bit of a bitterness between it. You can, and maybe not necessarily bitterness, but like a sadness about it. And the story that Foxe and Orlando go over, it really feels like it deals and taps into that sadness, not just the loss of that youth, but more that loss of being able to have those experiences, have that freedom that this younger generation has. I'm 42, and I'm kind of I would say I'm in between those two generations, having known older LGBT people who passed away from AIDS, but also friends with a lot of youngers who are very much themselves. It's interesting kind of seeing both sides of that, and bitterness I don't think is quite the right word, but like there's definitely a sadness, and the older LGBT community that I know of, is proud of everything they've done, and very happy of the strides they made, and being able to move things forward for those younger individuals. But you also get the sense that there's not jealousy, but they wish they could have experienced that in their 20s and teens, 20s and 30s growing up, and not maybe had to deal with the hardship. And I think a lot of that themes are thrown in here as to like the motivations on some of the characters, and it's really fascinating. If you know that history even just briefly and understand that dynamic briefly, I think you'll appreciate it a lot more. And even if you don't care about any of that, or it's not something that interests you, just straight up as a horror story, it's good. It's really, really good. I mean, it's jacked up, messed up stuff. Silence the Lambish, craziness, and there's so many disturbing aspects to it. And it's good. This would be a fantastic horror film. Like if this was adapted to a horror film, it would be so good. And I'd be at the edge of my seat the entire time and tense. And reading this, I felt tense the entire time. The art, I think, is really fantastic, and I think plays off the characters really well. And it's kind of hard to go show some of the more horror aspects of it, because it's going to give away kind of some of the twists and turns that I don't want to spoil, because where things start going and like what motivations are going on and why, like, is really where things get really interesting in this. In the back, there's some extra stuff. There's like sketches. There's sketches of the pages themselves, of characters. This is good. It's really, really good. I mean, if you're a horror fan, just get it. Like, it's really, you can forget that, you don't, the LGBT stuff is important, is some of the motivation of the characters and all that, but like just straight up as a horror story, it's good. It's up there of Jason, Freddy, all that type of stuff. Just that stalking, predatory aspect of it is really, really solid and tense, really tense. So just that alone is great. If you like the idea of an LGBT horror, it's an absolute must get. I mean, this is just, it's not anything that I can think of I've read or experienced before, so to me fairly groundbreaking and interesting. Go get it. Really cool. Out in comic shops now. We got a link beneath this video. Put in your zip code. They'll tell if a shop's near you. No shop, no problem. We do have some links where you can purchase your own. There'll be affiliate links, so we do get a small percentage, and by doing that, you'll support our site. Speaking of support, I want to thank AfterShock for hooking us up with the review copies. I really appreciate it. It's really interesting, and definitely, like, I think you could tell that I'm thinking about this and want to discuss it so much more, and would love to talk about it with someone. It's awesome. So, if you want the latest AfterShock news, comic news in general, check us out every single day at graphicpolicy.com. We're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr, all at Graphic Policy, keeping it nice and consistent. So until next time, keep reading those comics, and keep it geeky. Hey, thanks for watching the previous video from Graphic Policy Television. Just by watching, you help support our site. Thank you so much. Now, if you're watching these videos, you probably care about geeky things like movies, television, comic books, toys, games, video games, you name it. You can go and subscribe right now to our YouTube channel to stay in touch and catch all the new videos, or check out our website at graphicpolicy.com. There's a nice link on this end of the video. But as always, thank you for watching. Keep on rocking and keep it geeky.